Hi, I'm Ashley Smith with Dreamsmith Realty, and on this day, as the stormy weather is rolling in, I thought it would be a perfect opportunity to bring up a somewhat trending topic. Is Lake Lanier really haunted? If you've ever been invited to the lake or thought about spending some time here, you may have Googled it, and I bet you one of the first 2 or 3 things that pop up in your search say something about Lake Lanier being haunted and cities being buried underneath the lake. Well, as a realtor who lives on Lake Lanier, I want to make sure we can set the record straight. I'll explore the legends with you, we'll look at some real history, and then we'll talk about what it's really like to be on Lake Lanier. I think there are 2 main reasons why people think Lake Lanier might be haunted. The first one is the actual history of the lake, and it fuels a lot of these stories. Lake Lanier was built in the 1950s by the Army Corps of Engineers to create a water supply for the city of Atlanta. And to create this lake, they made Buford Dam, which was also going to create hydroelectric power. In order to create the lake, they had to flood a bunch of small towns all over North Georgia. And in doing so, some people couldn't or wouldn't move, so the government had to take their property by eminent domain. Actually, as a part of eminent domain, the government forced out about 250 families. They also shut down 15 businesses, and you're not going to believe this, but they moved 20 cemeteries. At least they say they moved 20 cemeteries. That's part of the story that we're going to be uncovering. One of the most talked about communities that disappeared under the water was Oscarville, a historically Black town with a painful past. And even though the lake obviously didn't flood Oscarville overnight, it was a part of a slow erasure. So when people hear that a whole town got flooded and there might still be graves underneath the lake, well, that's the plot of a horror movie. And now we mix in decades of stories of people drowning, weird boating accidents, and people disappearing under the lake and never coming back. It definitely fuels the rumor of a haunted lake. The second, very recent reason why people say that the lake is haunted is thanks to popular culture. We all know once the internet gets a hold of a story of a lake being haunted, it's going to blow up. In 2023, a movie called Haunted Lake Lanier came out and took these creepy stories to the next level. I recently watched it, and I've got to tell you, those angry spirits who live right under the surface of the lake are something. There's also a couple of docuseries, one in particular called Surviving Lake Lanier, that digs deeper into missing person cases and also the mystery of Oscarville. Between that and all the TikToks, the YouTube videos, and viral threads, I guess I can see why this place has become one of the most haunted, talked about places in the South right now. Lake Lanier might have some eerie stories floating around, but what the danger really comes down to is not very mysterious. What it generally boils down to is that people do not take water safety seriously. From 1999 to 2018, there were 145 drownings and 57 boating fatalities on the lake. And the majority of these tragedies, they were preventable. Here's what's really going on. Boating under the influence, no life jackets, and inexperienced boat drivers. Boating under the influence. Yep, BUI is a thing. Over 200 reported incidents happened during that same time frame. No life jackets. The U.S. Coast Guard says that 83% of people who drowned in boating accidents weren't wearing one. That's not haunted. That's heartbreaking. And the stats I've heard specific to this lake is, of all who drowned on Lake Lanier, none were wearing a life jacket. Inexperienced drivers. A boat is not a floating golf cart. You've got to know what you're doing. A lot of accidents happen because someone jumped behind the wheel without knowing the rules or how to handle wakes, winds, or other boats. Lake Lanier is a recreational lake. We get over 12 million visitors a year. So if you're here during the summer or on a busy weekend, please make sure to pay attention where you are and remember that there are people who will be intoxicated or not knowing what they're doing on the water. So yeah, the lake has seen its share of tragedy, but not because it's cursed. It's because water, alcohol, inexperience, and lack of safety gear is a really bad combination every single time. Respect the water, know your limits, and look out for your people. That's how you keep the lake fun and safe. So here's my take as a realtor who works on Lake Lanier and as somebody who lives here. In all my years of showing people lake properties, families, weekenders, investors, retirees, not one person has stopped and said, "Ashley, is the lake haunted?" These people are way more focused on dock access, school zones, Whether their backyard has room for a hammock or a fire pit, not ghost stories. Yep, the legends are wild, but it hasn't stopped people from falling in love with this place. The lake life is peaceful, the views are beautiful, and the vibe, it's full of chill weekends, water toys, and people who genuinely look out for each other. And just to make sure you know, home values here are holding strong. Lakefront living is in demand. So, is Lake Lanier haunted or not? Let's be honest, we all love a good haunted narrative. And the Lake Lanier one is juicy. Ghosts in the fog, creepy underwater towns. I'm not mad at it. But here's what you're probably not seeing in those Google searches. Birthday parties on pontoon boats, early morning kayak and paddleboard rides, neighbors waving at you from across the cove. This is a really great life. So whether you're here for the mystery or just trying to find your peace on the water, Lake Lanier still delivers. Just maybe bring your life jacket instead of your ghost hunting gear. So, is Lake Lanier haunted? I'll let you decide, but haunted or not, people are still buying homes, building memories, and loving the lake life every single day. If you want to know what it's actually like to live here, where to look, which places feel like home, and where to find that perfect spot for you on the water, give me a call or watch our next video. I break down some of the best neighborhoods on the lake to live. Make sure you click right here. Thanks for coming along with me today, and I'll see you in the next video.